So we found out last August of 2015 that we were pregnant. Check with the doctor, and doctor's like, yep, you definitely are. So set up the ultrasounds. We have to wait for the ultrasound. We could actually see a little heartbeat, and to our surprise, it was 2 little heartbeats that we were able to see. It was amazing, but terrifying. Obviously, knowing that we were gonna be having twins was a big shock for both of us, and we didn't know, are we ready for 1? Are we ready for 2? What's gonna happen? But just kind of roll with it.
They say nobody's really ever ready for kids. I didn't know if I was or not, so it's I was mostly nervous. I mean, I was excited too, but mostly nervous.
And then it came to December when I realized I might be having some health issues, so I talked with my obstetrician. I think something's wrong with my left breast. I'm not sure. She had a look. She didn't like the way it looked. The next day was Christmas Eve, and that's when the pathology reports came back saying, yes, this is definitely cancer.
Honestly, at first, I think I was in shock. I didn't even really react to it. I remember sitting in the room, and Jolene was immediately upset, but I wasn't, because I don't know. I felt like maybe I wasn't hearing it right. It was just really, really shocking to me. One of our first concerns was, given her position in the pregnancy, was whether we were going to still be able to have the kids or not. It was a bit scary there.
We did get some information about, when you're going through chemo and pregnant, here's some long-term things that could happen, but there's not a lot of studies, there's not a lot of paperwork out there, but there's no other option. Treatment couldn't wait for my health reasons. Treatment absolutely could not wait.
I started chemo when I was 25 weeks pregnant. It's terrifying sitting in that chair, but knowing that this is what I have to go through for me to be healthy, and not knowing exactly what it's going to do to my 2 babies. Around 31 weeks of being pregnant, they thought something was wrong with baby A, and so we were worried. And so we ended up at that point, we're going in for ultrasounds twice a week. Turns out nothing's wrong. He started growing again, his measurements were good. We're like, oh, thank God.
So my obstetrician said that we have a date to have the boys. And it was right before I was 36 weeks pregnant, and it's basically, yep, next Thursday, we're gonna schedule you in. I'm like, that's next week. I'm gonna be a mom next week. The week before the C-section, we actually got to have a tour of the NICU. We got to meet with the neonatologist, ask any questions that we had, and we were given so much information. He told us that there's a chance when the babies are born, I may not even get to see them. The thought of that just broke my heart, but I was prepared for that. So we went that day and had one last ultrasound to make sure the obstetrician knew exactly where the babies were, and then things just moved so quickly in that operating room. The boys were born 3 minutes apart, and I did have a chance to see both the boys. They both had hair, which I was super happy for, because like I said, I was very bald at this point. So I was quite sick, and I didn't get to see my boys for almost a full day. I was kept in the loop on how they were doing, so I knew they both had feeding tubes in their nose just because they weren't wanting to eat very much, and that was fine. I knew they were in good hands there, and these nurses, they knew what they were doing. They do this every day. They help out sick babies, small babies. My babies were in there in very capable hands. Luckily, Brad, he spent a lot of time with them. He took pictures of them, took videos, sent them to me. And that was my motivation to, okay, I gotta feel better so I can go visit them. So the next day when the nurses came saying, Kate, let's go for a walk, I was ready to go. That was the best moment ever when they finally wheeled me into the NICU, and I got to see both of them. They're right beside each other. They had all their fingers, they had all their toes. Then we got them all bundled up like little sausages, and that day they were also transferred to the special care nursery because they were doing so well and they just had to do a bit of growing. Every day we were there visiting, and it was a long weekend, so we had to wait for those echocardiograms. And as soon as those were done, Beckett got out of the hospital. We're like, whoa, holy moly, like this is very real now. But we knew we still had Carter at the hospital, so then we had to make our trips back to the hospital, and it was great every time we went to the special care nursery. The nurses were there, let us know exactly how Carter was doing, or when Beckett was in there, exactly how they were doing. The care was absolutely great, and for, that small time there, I didn't have to worry about my health. My chemo was on hold and I just got to focus on those babies.
We do have top tier people that work here, and it gives you confidence that my kids are getting the best care they can be, and Jolene is getting the best care that she can be.
Like, I was in some ways sad to leave the special care nursery because like you have a bond with the nurses. The day that I had them both at home and both in their cribs was like the best moment like ever. And, like, they were so tiny in there. Said I always cry at that part. Yeah.
And so once I was done chemo, I did have a double mastectomy. So then I couldn't lift my boys for 6 weeks because there's a lifting restriction. It was 6 weeks and it just flew by. And after that 6 weeks, you better believe I was just holding both of them like at once because I didn't want to have to go through that. It was the best feeling ever. When I had my last treatment, I couldn't even make it out of the room before I started crying. Had both my boys with me there. My mom was there. We rang that bell. The nurses are all cheering, and it's just like, I can't believe this is done. Like, I can't believe I made it through all of this, and now I can just focus on healing. And that's where I am now, is the focusing on healing. Carter and Beckett, they still go see a pediatrician. We did have one appointment at the Developmental Assessment Center as well, just to make sure that they are where they need to be. They're doing so well. They are growing, they are active, they are following their curves exactly how they should be.
I'd never really seen, I guess, sort of the specialty side of our healthcare system before. That would be like cancer doctors, the high-risk pregnancy, the people in the NICU. I'd never seen that before. I've mostly just dealt with fairly minor things. And I honestly just can't say enough good things about the people in any of those places. Like I said, I was nervous to become a father, but I love it. Every day, my favorite thing is coming home and having them smile at me when I come home. I love it. So, I couldn't ask for anything better than that.
Every nurse, every doctor, the way that they coordinated prior to having the babies, after we had them, it was absolutely amazing. And there's not even a way I could ever say thank you enough. My healthcare team, my kids' healthcare team, everybody was just right there for me. The compassion is absolutely amazing. Like I said, they felt like a part of the family. Every time I see any one of these people, or I hear somebody who has to go and have their kids in the NICU or special care nursery, I'm like, it'll be okay. These are the best of the best out there.